Are you sick of all the fees and the hassle of having a checking account at a big bank? Check out our sponsor, Current, using the link below. I'll tell you more about them at the end of the video. One of the stories that stands out in terms of police brutality from the last week or 10 days of protests is the video of 75-year-old Martin Gugino being shoved onto the ground by two Buffalo police officers, Buffalo, New York, hitting his head so hard that he actually started bleeding from his right ear, seemingly knocked unconscious when it happened. The two officers involved in that incident have been charged with second-degree assault after they were filmed knocking Gugino over. These two officers are 39-year-old Aaron Tergalski and 32-year-old Robert McCabe. They've both pleaded not guilty, and they've both been suspended without pay. And this incident led to the resignations of dozens of Buffalo police officers. No, not because they are protesting what these two officers did, because they are defending what the two officers did in shoving Martin Gugino. And now Donald Trump is actually attacking, wait for it, the 75-year-old guy who was put into critical condition by the officers. The Daily Beast reports that as of Monday afternoon, Gugino had been upgraded from critical to serious but stable. And Donald Trump yesterday spread a completely baseless conspiracy theory that Gugino was some part of Antifa setup of the police officers, a planned provocation of some kind. This is something that's been alleged by Donald Trump's latest favorite propaganda outlet, OAN. Donald Trump tweeting yesterday, quote, "Buffalo protester shoved by police could be an Antifa provocateur. 75-year-old Martin Gugino was pushed away after appearing to scan police communications in order to black out their equipment. OAN, I watched. He fell harder than was pushed, was aiming scanner. Could be a setup." Now, a lot of the debate is over whether this could be true rather than the insanity of Donald Trump, the president, even tweeting something like this. But just to do our thorough due diligence, here's the story Trump is referring to from OAN. Take a look and you'll be able to tell that Trump is just completely uncritically falling for obvious agitprop style propaganda. Take a look.
New reports find a protester pushed by Buffalo police was appearing to use common Antifa tactics. One America's Christian Rose looks into the matter.
And I think cops are bad. He's looking to get punched in the face. Say stuff, that's what it is. Get fired and lose their pension.
A new report finds the latest tensions at the Buffalo Police Department could be a result of a false flag provocation by far-left group Antifa.
So I'm cutting the video there because we'll be demonetized if we show the actual footage of Gugino being knocked down. But you get the idea of the story on OAN. So I need you to understand that this is a completely baseless conspiracy. It was even suggested that Gugino, again, came equipped with some kind of fake blood dispenser, and that what appears to be Gugino bleeding from his ear is actually not. Imagine how absurd this is. He was an Antifa plant who tricked police into pushing him so he could slam his own head into the pavement and put himself in the hospital for a week. What a big win for the protesters, right? Now, in contrast, Donald Trump is attacking an elderly man who was assaulted by police, and yet he has said nothing about the KKK member who drove into a crowd of protesters a few days ago. Now, you might hear me say that, and you might be wondering, KKK, what are you talking about, David? I didn't hear about that. And that's exactly part of the problem. You might not even have heard of this story, but in Hanover, Virginia, 36-year-old Harry Rogers was arrested after he drove his truck into a crowd of protesters, and it has now been admitted that he is a known leader of the Ku Klux Klan and a disseminator of what is considered or called a Confederate ideology. Trump has said nothing about that, but is defending police in one of the most brutal anecdotes of these protesters while suggesting that the victim, a 75-year-old peace activist, might be an Antifa plant equipped with surreptitious police monitoring technology. So what I would like to see Republicans come out and say is not whether they believe Trump's conspiracy theory, the OAN conspiracy theory. I would like them to come out and say that merely getting involved in this type of thing is an absolute atrocity for a president to do, because a lot of the debate, sadly, is about whether Martin Gugino might be a provocateur, whether Martin Gugino might have brought a fake blood device of some kind. The real issue is that the president is even involved in this absolute gutter trash. And the effect of all of this is that it just continues to divide the country. If Trump can divide the country about such an obvious, clear-cut case of police brutality by sowing doubt and uncertainty, by amplifying a story from OAN, he is preventing people from coming together about anything. Like, if people can't come together about this incident, then the country can be divided about almost anything. And we have to remind ourselves that this is the president of the United States who is saying these things and participating in this stuff. This is what we would normally expect to see people like Alex Jones tweeting about. And it's the president who's tweeting about it. How does he have millions, tens of millions of supporters still? And at a certain point, you know, I did this segment a couple, maybe a year, a little more ago, called "We Have to Accept That There's a Lot of Stupid People." And the segment clearly resonated and did very, very well, although some people took offense to it. We have to understand that this says something really horrifying about our country, that Donald Trump can be saying these things and doing these things and maintaining the support of tens of millions of people despite tweeting such obvious agit trash, as I like to call it. We're going to continue following this on the David Pakman Show Instagram page, which is David Pakman Show on Instagram. Also, follow me on Instagram at david.pakman. I think tomorrow or the next day, we're going to have a video of me harvesting my one strawberry from my garden and a single leaf of mint and eating it, preparing it in a gourmet fashion. That's on my personal Instagram, david.pakman. Follow the show on Instagram for more on this story at David Pakman Show. We often talk about the many different ways that big banks take advantage of their customers. And one of our sponsors today is Current, which is an online bank for those of us who are sick of dealing with all of the fees and the nonsense from the big banks. I use Current myself. If you're watching this on YouTube, here's my actual Current debit card that I'm holding up. No minimum balance. They have 24/7 support, no overdraft fees up to $100, and it won't get declined. No ATM fees. You can use over 55,000 ATMs nationwide. And unlike other banks, you receive your direct deposits instantly, which means you'll get paid by your employer up to 2 days sooner. You can deposit checks instantly using your camera phone. And unlike other banks, Current instantly refunds the hold on your card from pumping gas. You can pause your debit card instantly, also really useful in many situations. There are just so many different advantages to ditching the big banks and instead use a bank that puts their members first. It takes 2 minutes to sign up. They'll immediately ship you your debit card for free. Go ahead and get started by clicking the link down below the video.